From pop art in the 60s to Memphis design style of the 80s into graphic flat, super flat, and SoFlo super flat styles of painting popular today, artists love immersive fields of color. Today, we're going to look at 3 ways to apply Golden SoFlat paints to help artists working in this flat style of painting. Markers, filling empty markers with SoFlat, spraying, thinning SoFlat for airbrush and other spraying devices, and hard edge, masking techniques. For both markers and spraying devices, the key is thinning SoFlat enough to flow while preserving as much of the opacity and matte quality as possible. To do this, we recommend a mixture of 2 parts SoFlat paint to 1 part each of water and Golden Open Thinner. It doesn't have to be exact, but it is fairly simple to use an empty jar and measure 5 spaces. You need a jar with a lid so you can mix your paints in advance and store them indefinitely. Also, it's critical to mix them thoroughly by shaking again before using them. Make sure the agitator ball is in the marker. Then shake the paint mixture thoroughly before pouring them into the marker body. Once you've filled the marker, you put the nib and pump back on, give it another shake, and then pump the nib until it is saturated with paint. While spraying SoFlat involves the same dilution process as the markers, it is very important that you read the labels for each color before attempting any spray application. Colors containing cadmium should never be sprayed, and this symbol is on the label indicating that precaution. Not just SoFlat and not only Golden, any paint with that symbol should not be used in a sprayer or atomizer because it poses a health risk when inhaled. Also, anytime you're spraying paints, or really any chemicals, you should wear a NIOSH approved respirator and mask and have the proper ventilation for your workspace. Because it is necessary to thin SoFlat to make it sprayable, it won't be as opaque. It will take a couple of passes to get the same coverage you would get if you were using a brush straight from the jar. It is best to apply a couple of thin coats of color rather than build up a thick wet layer. Many artists want that crisp, untouched look with sharply defined edges. Masking is the best way to accomplish this, but anyone who has worked with masking knows that the results can be disappointing when the paint goes under the mask and messes up the defined edges you were hoping for. Your first line of defense against messy edges is a quality painter's masking tape. Right behind that is the surface being painted. While it is not impossible to get a crisp edge on a textured surface, it is much easier to accomplish on a smooth surface. If you paint on cotton canvas and want a hard edge, you may want to see our video about creating a smooth surface using molding paste. There will be a link in the description. Assuming you've carefully applied your mask and pressed it down, the other thing you can do to ensure a clean edge is to use a clear or transparent medium to fill the gaps or tiny wrinkles in the tape that would allow color to seep underneath. To maintain the matte finish, I am using fluid matte medium and allowing it to dry before applying my SoFlat color. It's not necessary for the medium to be completely cured. If it is dry to the touch, you should be fine moving on to your primary application of color. Also, it's better to start with lighter colors and working up to darker ones in your composition. I've let the paint dry for an hour, but it would be okay to let it dry longer, and if you are impatient, shorter would be okay too, but you will need to be more careful on how you peel off that mask. Ideally, you've left a place where you can get a hold of the edge of the tape. Once you have a hold of it, it is best to pull the tape up from the surface of the painting at close to a 90-degree angle to help the tape cut through the paint cleanly. The smartest tip I can provide in this video is this: test and practice any materials or techniques on a small panel or scrap material, and have a smaller substrate available for any large or important work so you can test and try each step before applying it to your work. Lastly, get the help you need. If you have any questions or concerns, call Golden or send us an email at help@goldenpaints.com. Thanks for watching.